What's going on, everyone? This is I Got Game 89. I'm back doing a little podcast session right now. It's probably pretty much my first one. I know I talked about other topics before that was, not gameplay or walkthrough or anything. It was just me talking, giving you tips, tutorials. It's been a minute. But yeah, you already know I mainly do just gameplays, walkthroughs, whatnot. I just record me playing video games, playing the games, whatnot. So I don't really do a podcast, but I've been thinking about it for a minute. I've been thinking about just venturing on. Hey, people are telling me, hey, do something else. You should talk more. You should even be on camera more. I'm like, bro, I be getting tired. I be getting a little bit tired, but I would still be able to function while I'm playing. It's just I don't want y'all to see me kind of a bit tired and everything. I be working a lot, whatnot, be out on the streets. But yeah, do more than just gameplays and walkthroughs, just and shorts about the gameplay, whatnot. Just talk about, have different, be on camera, have topics, do a little podcast. It can the podcast can not be as much as the gameplay. I can still do the gameplay more, but just do a little bit of podcast, like a lot of content creators are doing, whatnot. Just talk about different topics. So I'm just like, why not? F it. So, and this is recording. It's not live. I'll do live, one day. But right now, this is just recording. But what I want to talk about is, which I always been thinking of. It's always been frustrating to me. It's just one of those kind of hard for me to choose. But I might have the answer after I discuss it. But it's gonna be slightly more than the other one for my pick. But the topic today is 1990s versus 2000s video games. What decade had the best in gaming overall? Not just, game wide, just system, console, all that. Which decade was the best in gaming overall? Coming from someone like me that was born in 1989, that lived through the whole night, lived through both decades, both the 1990s and the 2000s decades. I'm not going to give my answer yet, but like I said, I have to do the rundown. I have to go through a lot. I don't want to go through hours and hours, but it's just a lot of cover, man. It's just a lot of cover. So I'm just going to do like a little short version. I'll give you the answer at the end, but I just want to do like a little short version of why I think, this is better than the other one. I can do another video that could be like kind of like maybe 2 hours, or bring someone in when it's live. Well, I'm doing a live stream, but this is just me just giving my little quick analysis, a quick opinion, what I think, which decade is the best. You know what I'm saying? It's all just a lot to talk about, man. It's just a lot to talk about the creative developers and whatnot, the music, just the climate of video games, which is not far off. It's just decade to decade, but still, it's been a huge major shift in gaming. It's been a major shift in gaming. It's just the climate and the era, within those 2 decades. But yeah. So like I said, I was born 1989. As far as I can remember, I start playing video games within the Sega Genesis and the NES. Oh, sorry, SNES, Super Nintendo. So, and my brother, he had an NES. There wasn't an NES in our house. I used to live. I'm in Queens, New York. I used to live here in Queens, New York in the early 90s, not too far from here, like a few neighborhoods down from where I currently live at, like in the basement. We had an NES, the original Nintendo system, but I don't remember playing it. I remember they had Super Mario Brothers, the first one, and Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I don't really remember playing NES vividly. It's a blur. But I definitely remember playing Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. I think Super Nintendo was the first one before the Genesis, but yeah. Uh, of course, those two systems, Sega Genesis, Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Nintendo, Super Mario World. So, as far as I remember, so that was so I pretty much first started my gaming journey, venture, wherever you want to call it, in the 16-bit era. 16-bit after the NES and all that. After the NES and all that, the 16-bit era. Uh, yeah. So pretty much before all the 3D era and all that, I came about when the 2D era. The 2D era is my first, the origin of me playing video games. This, the 2D era didn't go nowhere after the 18-bit. You had the 16-bit too. So yeah, I was messing with the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and then ever since then, and y'all, some of you already know my favorite genre of video games is platforming. Platforming is just my favorite. Like I'll have another topic. I have another that's another discussion of why I like platforming video games. But yeah, 16-bit, and then venture on later on to the mid 90s, because all that was the early 90s. But the mid 90s was, well, I want to talk about 8-bit. 8-bit, obviously in the 80s. It started in the 80s. Well, I think kind of like late 70s or early 80s, but like all the way up until the very, very, very early 90s, like 1990, 1991, 1992. Like I would say about like till 93. 18-bit just kind of died out, because it's 16-bit was just dominating the video game world, the video game space, the era. It was just dominating. So they decided to just stop making NES games around, around like 94, 95, I believe. But 16-bit was just dominating. And if you get to see here, see the screen in the 90s. Well, let me just search 8-bit. 8-bit games. 8-bit. Search 8-bit. Sonic. Oh, well, Game Gear was part of the 8-bit. Let me just see 8-bit. Yeah, this is going to be the 8-bit. Or 8-bit gaming. But yeah, early 80s, early 1983. 1983 was the start of the 8-bit. So Game Gear. So Game Gear was 8-bit. Yeah, of course. The handheld, the Game Boy and the Game Gear were still 8-bit. So the 8-bit was still going on in the 90s. But as you can see here, there's a bunch of games in the 1990s. There's a whole era. I know people don't like Wikipedia, but like I said, this is just my quick synopsis. Yeah, the 90s and the video game. Like I said, Super Mario World, Sonic the Hedgehog, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken 3, Doom, Wolfenstein 3D, and all that. Yeah, like that was the more popular 16-bit in the early 90s back then. Before the mid 90s, that's when it started to veer off to like, okay, we're gonna start making 3D video games, right? On there was a bit of 3D in the mid 90s within Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo before the Saturn, because the Saturn, PlayStation, and N64, that was the 5th generation console. As you can see right here, that was the transition of fully 3D game. But let's just stick to the 4th generation console. The 4th generation console over here. Oh, let me see. Oh, okay, there we go. 4th generation console over here. You had and I only bear with me because I only had the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, so the Turbo Graphics is 16 Super Graphics, the Neo Geo. I didn't really have it, so I don't really know much about. I just focus on the major system, Genesis and Super Nintendo. So just kind of work with me. That's way much what I focus on. Like I said before, I had both of them. I had both, but as far as 3D, you had a bit of 3D gaming, 3D, a bit, just a bit within these two 16 bits. I don't know about like I said, I don't know about these two right here and the Neo Geo, but you did have a bit of 3D in the 16-bit. Like for example, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic 3D Blast, you had that. Let me show you Sonic. You had that. You let me search Genesis. In the Genesis, so you had that. You had a bit of 3D, and you had a bit of 3D NES 3D games. Yeah, Star Fox, of course. You had some 3D-ish, kind of. You had some 3D kind of a bit, like it's like seriously merging, like it's like about to be in that 3D era. So you had certain games that would utilize some of the visual technology of the console, so it can merge into the sixth generation. Sorry, excuse me, fifth generation. So you had these, and yes, like I said, you still had the 8-bit with the handheld. You had the Game Boy, of course, the extra Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Light, and all that. I had the Game Boy Light. I never had the Pocket, but I had the Light, the first one, and the Light. Definitely had the Game Gear, which was only one model. It's only one model, but it was still 8-bit. So the fourth generation. So you had the 90s. You had the fourth generation. You had the fifth generation as well too. Fifth generation was obviously the last half. You know what I'm saying? After the mid 90s, you still have 16-bit. 16-bit. There's still 16-bit gaming these days. Oh yeah, in the 2020s, there's still 16-bit, but it's more modern. It's more futuristic. It's better graphics. It's better. There's more of a story. You can hear the dialogue, the voice acting, everything. Like one of my favorite 16-bit games of these days is Freedom Planet. It's like Sonic. The creators of the Sonic hacks created the game Freedom Planet. Like for example, let me show you Freedom Planet right here. See, you still got 16-bit. Still got 16-bit. 16-bit is not completely over. It's just more modern now. It's just more modern for like new players, new gamers, everything. They want to still keep the 16-bit, which I respect. I got no hate against that. But let's get into the 3D. Let's get into the 3D gaming now. Now we get into the fifth generation. The fifth generation, right here. This is the fifth generation. This is. Oh wait, hold on. Okay, fifth generation. Excuse me. This transition to 3D, like the 32-bit and the 32-bit and the 64-bit. Let me say something about the 32-bit. The 32-bit, that was only for a minute. That was only for a hot minute. Like you had the 36. You had the Sega 32X. The 32X, that thing really did much. I think, yeah, it even said it right there. It had a weak library of 40 games. Like, my favorite game on that, and the only one I really know is Knuckles Chaotic, because it's part of the Sonic the Hedgehog series. As you can see, I'm still a Sonic fan. But yeah, it's a lot to talk about. It's a lot. Like, Sega really did pretty bad in the mid, like really in the middle of the 90s, like 94, 95. Sega didn't know what the hell they were doing. They had a huge dispute between Sega Japan and Sega here in America. But yeah, there was a lot of things that go into it, to the point where they were going to make a system called Sega Neptune. I believe it was Sega Neptune. Kind of give me a little bit chills, but yeah, Sega Neptune was pretty much a system where you could play Sega Genesis and 32X game and all on one console without the add-on right there. But they decided we're not going to make that no more. We're not gonna make that no more, because we're getting ready for the Saturn. We're getting ready for the next generation. So they decided to, they decided not to sell it. They decided to stop producing the system. I mean, the system look. This is what the system looked. Yeah, the prototype. Yeah, it was canceled. It was canceled. It was about to Genesis and 3D 32X, but they decided to cancel that. So just looking at it, giving me chills. Like, damn, all these late 90s unused product, not late 90s, 90s unused products. It gives me chills. But yeah, the 30 the 32X, the 32-bit era was just, that was just mad fast. Like, I was just mad quick. It was more upgrade. Excuse me. It was a better upgrade. It was a better upgrade from it was more of a better upgrade from the 16-bit. So they wanted to do that. It was a commercial failure. Excuse my voice. It was considered as a commercial failure. The games look nice. The games definitely look nice. Upgrade from the 16-bit. Excuse me. But unfortunately, the sales didn't do good. The library of games, it wasn't all that great. It was just 40 games. So yeah, that was the 32-bit era. That was just real quick. It was like a year, only lasted a year. So now we get into the 15. We're getting into the 5th generation, which is the PlayStation. Well, let me start with the Sega Genesis. No, Sega Saturn. It was a Sega Saturn, N64, and the new system for the new series, for the new Sony series, PlayStation, PS1. I like to call it I like to call it PS1, but that's what it is. That's the 5th. That's the 5th generation. Sega was still going. Sony released a new system, PS1, and Nintendo still keep going with the N64. Now, all of them, the greatest system is, in my opinion, PlayStation. It is what it is. Now, graphics, when it comes to graphics aspect, quality, frame rate, and all that, N64. Well, back in the 4th generation, I would say, in my opinion, I like the Sega Genesis better. Like the color, the sound, the sound, the music is better. The graphics is better. That's just me. A lot of people argue saying NES, Super Nintendo is much better than the Sega Genesis in the 4th generation. I gotta go with Sega Genesis. That's just me, and because I'm a huge Sonic fan, I love Sonic. But yeah, in the 5th one, yeah, PlayStation. I'm a huge Crash Bandicoot fan. PlayStation all the way. So this is now we're entering the first fully 3D era. Efficiency wise, 3D, fully 3D. So this generation lasted all the way until like what, like 2003, I believe. I believe 2003. So and the fact that you can play CDs on this, music on that shit was extra dope. Uh, I hate that it was just region lock, man, because PlayStation got so many imported games. PlayStation got so many imported games. Saturn too. Saturn too. N64, yeah, but not so much. Not so much imported, but definitely PlayStation Saturn. PlayStation Saturn definitely got a lot of shit unlocked. You definitely got to unlock it with the cartridge, the Kai cartridge with the Saturn. As far as the PS1, I'm not sure. N64, I'm not sure neither. But yeah, this is the fifth. So basically, the fourth and the fifth generation is the main generations of the 90s. 90s had two generations. Oh, let me go back. So, let me go over here. So in the 90s, you had Super Mario World, Sonic the Hedgehog, Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, Tekken 3, Doom, Wolfenstein 3D, Quake, Duke Nukem 3D, Final Fantasy 7, Unreal Tournament, Star Fox, Half-Life, Grand Theft Auto, Super Mario 64, Pokemon Red and Blue, NBA Jam, Daytona USA, GoldenEye 007, System Shock 2, Civilization, Ridge Racer, Sonic Adventure, Gran Turismo, Super Mario Kart, Pokemon Gold and Silver, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, Super Metroid, Silent Hill, Dead or Alive 2, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina. I can't pronounce that right. I always pronounce that right. Ocarina of Time, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Fallout, Metal Gear Solid, Diablo, Virtual Fighter, Tomb Raider, Sega Rally Championship, Wing Commander, Super Smash Brothers, Secret of Mana, Death, The Dark Project, Age of Empires, Knights in the Dreams, Panzer Dragon, Gunstar Heroes, EverQuest, Chrono Trigger, Battletoads, Worms, Myst, Micro Machines, Streets of Rage 2, Baldur's Gate, Donkey Kong Country, Wipeout, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, Lemmings, Earthbound, StarCraft, Banjo-Kazooie, Paul Rapper, The Rapper, Resident Evil, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Soul Calibur, Command and Conquer, and Dance Dance Revolution. And of course, there's more games than that, but these are just the focal point of the 90s, the real classic, the well-known, like stood the test of time. People still play it. So, and like I said before, the major systems in the era was Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Sega Saturn, PlayStation, N64, Game Boy Color, and Sega Dreamcast, which Sega Dreamcast is part of the sixth generation, but Dreamcast came out in the 90s, so yeah, that was the Dreamcast was the only game in the sixth generation. But yeah, and the fifth generation, is known for having memory cards to save video games because there was no internal memory drive in there. So, and there was online, but not so much. Not so much. That Dreamcast had online, but it didn't. It in the beginning, but it didn't really stood out. Dreamcast really didn't last long, but yeah, man. The 90s has some really great games, like really classic, notable franchise. It has some notable franchise. Like Ape Escape, Banjo Kazooie. These are the okay. I'll I'll tell you the series that I mess with. I like best was excuse me was Ape Escape, Banjo Kazooie. I never really had an N64, but I'm still playing Banjo Kazooie. I got the series on Xbox 360, which Xbox 360 store just closed over a week ago, like about 2 weeks ago. They just uh it got canceled. It just well not got canceled. It just they shut it down because it's been like 19 years. 19 years was a good length. I wish it would have been longer, but that's just me. So there's no more Xbox 360 store. The marketplace is done. It's over. Finito. But anyways, Banjo Kazooie, definitely Crash Bandicoot, Crazy Taxi, Donkey Kong Country. Yeah, Donkey Kong. I played it, so I would consider Donkey Kong Country. Dr. Mario. I haven't played that in a long time. Dr. Mario. Let's see. F-Zero. Not really. Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, still making the series. Uh, Kirby. I'm a platformer fan, but I never really got into Kirby. I don't know. I think Kirby has always been so easy to me. Konala, definitely. Let's see. Mario Kart, definitely. Mario Party, not really. Mario Party just seems kind of boring. Knights, yeah. Even though there's only 2 games in the series. Let's see. Great soundtrack, by the way. Let's see. Rayman, yes, Rayman, definitely. Ridge Racer. Y'all ever notice that Ridge Racer was always one of the launch games of almost every system? It's Ridge Racer has always been. Let me just type that. Let me just search that. Let me search that. Ridge launch game. Ridge Racer has always been a launch game. Has been a launch. Yeah, has anyone ever noticed that? Has anyone ever noticed that Ridge Racer has always been a launch game for a system? Have y'all noticed that? Look, you see, it was released initially on Namco, ported to the PlayStation console. Yeah, look, see, September 5th on PlayStation, PS1. PS1 on this December 1994, Japan, and this and September 1995 in the United States. But look, you see, that's when PlayStation started in Japan, September 94. And then September 95. It literally came out when PlayStation started on both regions. That's crazy. See what I'm saying? Ridge Racer 2. It was an arcade. Ridge Racer. Oh, Rave Racer. Oh, that's like a spinoff. Oh, that's like a spinoff. Ridge Racer Revolution. That was on PlayStation. Oh, it came out like next couple years. Rage Racer, another spinoff. Yeah, I'm just looking at this series. Pocket Racer. That like on Game Boy Pocket. Rage Racer Type 4. Yeah, that wasn't a launch. That came out later on PlayStation. Great sound effects. The music is great. Music great. Ridge Racer 64. Oh, that wasn't a launch. It didn't launch because then 64 came out in 96. Ridge Racer 5. Look, you see, it's a launch game. Look at that shit. A launch game for that platform. You see, Ridge Racer 5 is a launch game for the PS2. Came out in 2000. October 2000. One of the first. If you can see the picture, you can see it kind of looks like the PS1 because PS2 literally just started. Literally just started. Art Racing Revolution. Oh, on GameCube. Oh, okay, that's not a launch because GameCube came out in 2001. Ridge Racer DS. Ridge Racer DS. Look, it was remade for DS, and Nintendo DS came out in 2004. Yeah, you see, 2004 was the DS. See, November 2004 came out with the DS, and look when the Ridge Racer DS came out. December. Huh? Close, close. Ridge Racer and PSP, and look right here. It served as a launch title for the PSP. See, Ridge Racer 6. Look at this. It came out 2005. Look. Ridge Racer. Uh, as a launch title for the Xbox 360. You see what I'm saying? See, it's been a long. I know I'm going off topic a little bit. I just want to show you all. Have you all noticed that Ridge Racer has always been a launch title? Not all the games, obviously, but most of the games, the main ones. Ridge Racer 7. Look. Ridge Racer 7. Look. It's released as a launch title for PS3. See what I'm saying? A launch title for PS3. I'm not bullshitting. I'm not bullshitting. I'm not bullshitting. Uh, for the what? Oh, this is for the. This is for iPhone. Drift. Then look, Ridge Racer 3D. Look. Release at March. Wait. North America, March 22nd, 5 days prior towards the launch of the 3D. It's a launch game. See what I'm saying? Oh, look, Ridge Racer for PS Vita. Look, right here, look. Oh, damn, was that bad? Ridge Racer Vita? Look, released for the PS Vita as a launch title. As a launch title. I'm not bullshitting, y'all. I'm not bullshitting. I'm bound for the PS3, Xbox. Oh no, it's not a launch. Yeah, it's 2012. PS3 came out 2006. Xbox 60 came out 2005. It's not a launch. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the console one. Yeah. And the most recent game in the series, 2000, damn, 10 years? Damn. PS4, no. The fourth one was the best one because most of the soundtrack was like the best one. It's very cool. But anyways, I mean that's part of the '90s. You know, the fourth one. So, Ridge Racer. Let me see. Go back to Shimune. I need to start. I need to play that shit, bro. It came out drinking. I need to play that. Sonic the Hedgehog, of course, my favorite series. Soul Calibur, it's nice, but I wasn't a fan of the series that much. I should be, but I don't know why. Spyro, Spyro, Super Smash Brothers, Super Smash Brothers. Yes, I'm a fan of it. Super Smash Brothers. Tom Clancy. I like Splinter Cell. I like Splinter Cell. Tomb Raider. I'm starting to get into it. Tony Hawk. It's my shit. Virtual Fighter. Command Yoshi. So these are the well-known games in the 90s, man. These are the well-known games in the 90s. Like I said, the 90s was mainly 16-bit and 64-bit, which is 3D. So yeah. So pretty much 90s has some very, very timeless classic, you know, people still play, people still make live streams about it, people that stream about it, they put on TikTok. The 90s gaming will always be a memorable decade, a memorable era. A lot of things were kids. I'm glad I was born in 89. I'm not changing that shit. I'm glad. I'm glad I was a 90s kid, bro. I will never change that shit. I don't regret my age. I like how my age. I'm about to be 35 in a week, less than a week. Thursday to be exact. I cannot say the 90s was horrible when it comes to toys and games for children. The 90s was definitely a reminiscible era. Because especially the whole transition from 16-bit to 16-bit 3D games. 2D to 3D. That whole transition was just incredible. It was just 16-bit. It was just incredible. The software, all the work they put into that to make these consoles, to make these games. And it was always memorable to me. It was always when I had a bad day and everything, I would just always remember, hey, I remember that time I played this. I remember that day I was playing this level. It was like raining and shit. It was sunny as hell. It was a Saturday morning from school. I get to finally finish this freaking games. Or I come home from school, I just throw my bag in. This game right here. Oh man, I was pissed off at school, so I was just killing the buttons. I was letting my anger off at this one game. The 90s was definitely, that was a time. So let me go through the 2000s. The 2000s, you had the the 6-bit era, no, sorry, the sixth generation, and you had the seventh generation all at once. In the 2000s, it starts off already in the 3D era. In the 3D era, you still had PlayStation and N64. Saturn pretty much died down. Saturn died down like 98, 99, maybe 2000. 2000 was like the last game on the Saturn. I would say, so to speak. The Saturn, let me just make sure, for the Saturn was the last game discontinued in Japan in 2000. The 2000, yeah. The last game when the 2000. Yeah, let me see. Let me see. This they had the Saturn game. Yeah, they canceled Sonic Stream. The decline. Yeah, the revenue. Yeah, the industry had a slowdown back then. Yeah, Saturn. Saturn was good, but it didn't really match up to the N64 and PlayStation because they had so much good, great games that it didn't match up to it. Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying. Saturn did his thing, but unfortunately, and it's rare. It's rare. I just got the Saturn recently. It's rare. Let me see for the Saturn. Damn, it's not gonna show me all the games. Wait, hold on a sec. I'm gonna get to the 2000s. I just want to see something real quick. List of Saturn. Yeah, mainly 97, 1994, 1995, 1996, 1997, 1998. It had a good run. It had a good run the last half of the 90s. But let me get to the let me get to the 2000s. Let me get to the 2000s. So in the 2000s, you still have PlayStation, PS1, and N64. The sixth generation started with the Dreamcast in 98, 1999, depending on the region. Very late 90s, the sixth generation. Whew. I'm going to calm down, relax. 2000 came the greatest video game system of all time. Even today, it's the greatest. What system had the most video game libraries than PS2? I'll wait. What system had the best quality of video games that still replay value that people still play today? I'll wait. What system revolutionized the 3D gaming, the CPU, the frame rate, and all that? Damn near almost 60 FPS frames per second. What system that done that? I'll wait. PS2 dominated even when the seventh generation came out. PlayStation 2 still dominated. PlayStation 2 dominated the whole 2000 decade. What video game system have a long article on Wikipedia as much as PlayStation 2? See? See right here? Come on, man. Come on, bro. You know how to keep the original. This baby ain't going nowhere. Still got him. Still got the cables and everything. Come on, man. Who are you talking to? You see that? Yeah, you see that. The greatest system of all time? What? And it still works? My baby still works? What? Even though I don't use it, I play PS2 games on the PS3 because I got the backwards compatibility one, the early PS3, first generation PS3 system. But who has the most online capability, functionality? PS2. Even though I never really played online because I didn't have the modem and all that stuff. But yeah, PlayStation 2 revolutionized the 3D era of gaming. The first system to do that, revolutionize that upgrade from PS1 to PS2. You also had the Xbox, which I was never really an Xbox fan. I have friends that had Xbox, but it's just me. Y'all had the Halos and all that. GameCube, definitely have a GameCube, definitely. Then you have within the 16. I gotta go by generation. The sixth generation, you had the Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube, Xbox, and the handheld. You had the Game Boy Advance and the N-Gage. I never had N-Gage. Definitely had GBA. Definitely had the Game Boy Advance. It was a good thing they had the SP because you can barely see it. There was barely no light. And I still got it. Still got the Game Boy. Still got the Game Boy Advance. Still got the Game Boy Advance right here. You know what I'm saying? I do this. This is what I do. Do this shit. Still got it right here. They got the Spyro. Spyro right here. Attack of the Rhinox. Still got it right here. See that shit? And the light that comes with it. So I still fuck with the classic. I still fuck with that. 2000s was my growth. 2000s, I was a teenager to adulthood. I was in elementary, the last final semester. Last half of the first half of the 2000s was my last semester in elementary. Then late 2000s in middle school, all the way to 2003, I was in high school. All the way to 2008, I went to college. So I had the elementary, middle school, high school, all in one decade. So that would. So you think the 90s was memorable? I'm going to remember more recently than in the 2000s than the 90s. So the 2000s to me was more memorable. But going through the gaming, yeah, revolutionary systems. Definitely the PS2, well-known games. I'm gonna get to the games right now as we speak. Within overall the whole decade, I'm gonna touch on the next generation. What was it? Oh, the seventh generation. But well-known games: Half-Life 2, Wii Sports, Grand Theft Auto 3, BioShocks, The Sims, Metro Prime, Burnout 3, Takedown, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Resident Evil 4, Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker, Shadow of the Colossus, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Star Wars Knights of Old Republic, Little Big Planet, Elder Scrolls 3, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy X, Perfect Dark, God of War, Left 4 Dead, Batman, Arkham Asylum, Counter-Strike, Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, let's see, Diablo 2, Pokemon Ruby / Sapphire, Elder Scrolls 4, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Gears of War, Max Payne, Pokemon Diamond / Pearl, Super Mario Galaxy, Halo Combat Evolved, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, Guitar Hero, Devil May Cry, Jack and Daxter, Precursor Legacies, Ratchet and Clank, Spiral, no, Sly Cooper, Hitman, Blood Money, Grand Theft Auto 4, Halo 2, Twilight Princess, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, Fallout 3, Super Mario Sunshine, Rock Band, Good Beyond Good and Evil, Portal, Ico, Jet Set Radio, Silent Hill 2, Psychonauts, Uncharted 2, Among Us Thieves, Halo 3, Plants vs. Zombie, Angry Birds, and Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. More than that, but yeah. So 2 generations, 6 and 7. Devolver early in the decade, the video game world was shaken up to 2 major stories that dominated the headlines. Sega was pulling out the console war, that Microsoft would enter the market. Sega stated the poor performance on the Dreamcast and Saturn lines have contributed to their decision. They're like, fuck it, we're not going to make no more systems for Sega because it's like, we fucking up out here with the sales and shit. Which have some really great games, bro. That's some good ass games. Lines contribute to the decision. The company returned to third party publishing, meaning that Sega will be on PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, mainly on Nintendo systems like GameCube and Game Boy Advance. Remaining console, Microsoft officially debuted their Xbox console at the Games Developer Conference in 2000 after much speculation. So, and there's a lot to read here, but what are these? Oh, Disney stars. Victoria Justice. Oh yeah. A decade of controversy. Oh, profanity, violence, pornography. I mean, you're in the 3D world now. You're in the 3D world, so of course it's gonna be. You're gonna see the things much clearer now. You're gonna visualize it more. So of course you're gonna be more fantasy. Yeah. So well-known established games 2000. The ones I mess with, the ones I'm a fan of. Let's see. I'm starting to be a fan of Batman Arkham, the series. Like, don't judge me. I'm late. I'm late for a lot of this. Call of Duty. I've never really been a fan of the series. I just recently got Modern Warfare 2, the original one on PS3 back in 2009, the original one. Crash Bandicoot still going to 2000. Still go. It can't beat the 90s one. So, Farmville, Infamous. Infamous is good. I like it. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan, but I like the series. Jack and Daxter, Jet Set Radio. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Do not get me started on this. Do not get me started. I can go on days, nigga. Days. Excuse my language. I don't mean to say the N word. My apology. I can go on days with this shit. Kingdom Hearts. It was just a great game, great story. Just beautiful story. Great game. But I can go on. Luigi's Mansion, I wasn't really a fan. I might get one day. Mario Luigi, no, I'm not a fan of that. There's games. There's a lot of games I'm missing out. Let's see. Mirror's Edge. I love Mirror's Edge. Mirror's Edge is a dope series. Naruto. I'm a huge anime fan of Naruto. Ratchet and Clank, yes. Ratchet and Clank. Red Faction. I just got the whole series just recently on PS3. I just got the whole series. Sly Cooper, fan. SpongeBob SquarePants, some of the games, fan. I'm a fan of some of the games. Great 3D. There's some great 3D platforming games in the video game series, like Battle for Bikini Bottom. That was a great series. That was a great game in the series. And the movie, great game. It's the same thing, the same engine as the Battle for Bikini Bottom. Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I ain't gonna lie, I still haven't beat this. I still haven't beat this yet. I don't know why. There's something about this game. I'm like, I need to beat this. I need to play this. I'll probably do it tonight after this. After this review. Oh man, but yeah, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Oh no, Super Brawl. Never mind. That's Nickelodeon. Oh, my apology. Tasmanian Tiger. Got the whole series. I got the whole series. I wonder if the third one was on PS4. Oh, never mind the third one. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Uh, yeah. Oh, and Charted, Charted. Oh man, it's about to be an hour. So let me go on to the seventh. Let me hurry up and go on to the seventh generation. The seventh generation was well known because of the transition from. It was a transition from the graphics from PS2, Xbox 60, no, PS2, Xbox, GameCube into the HDMI graphics. This is the first era of the HDMI graphics with the 360 and the PS3. The Wii was still had graphics from the Wii still had graphics from PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. Yeah, GHZ. GHZ. It was still they still was utilizing the Wii was still utilizing the sixth generation graphics. So it was still utilizing the 360 and the PS3 shit. The 360 and the PS3 got into the HDMI world. And I can just search it right here. Okay. Yep, HDMI. It was still going through the component. Yep, it was still component error. HDMI resolution. See, look, the PS2 and GameCube, original Xbox and Wii are the ED TV. Let me see, right? Poor Xbox Live Marketplace. It discontinued. Poor player. So better graphics. It looked more PC. It looked more PC, more realistic. And then you got the handheld. You had the Nintendo DS and the PlayStation Portable, which both the handhelds came out before the consoles of the seventh generation. So, and well-known games. Well-known games for the 360 obviously was Halo 3. Obviously, it was AMP 3. It was, Microsoft games. PS3 got the Uncharted games. And the Wii had the Super Mario Galaxy games. So overall, and it was mostly late 2000s. Late 2000s for it. Which I still play. People still play the Wii. People still play those games, the system. So that's 2000s. The 2000s, more cutscenes, obviously, more voice acting. So it's been an hour. I'm about to sign out right now. But overall, the 90s, the 2000s. I'm gonna go with the 2000s. 2000s slightly more than the 90s because the 2000s to me was more memorable. It's more memorable, man. I remember the 2000s vividly more than the 90s. And I lived in one area, and also where I was living at too. I was living in Florida throughout the whole 2090s. I live in New York, half New York. 60% New York, 40% Florida. The 2000s, the whole decade was 100% Florida. So, and the climate and where I was at, the environment, the 2000s had so much memorable game memories. I would like to say game. It's just so much to reminisce of how old I was. I went to school. The conversation I had with my friends, with my brother. Me and my brother, we played. We've been playing. We've been playing video. We still kind of do play together a little bit, but not as much. But the 2000s was just so memorable. As far as I can remember, like I said, I had friends. I had a lot of friends in the 2000s. Discussed gaming, whatnot, and music into it. You had hip hop artists, rock artists, and all that. Tony Hawk Pro Skater with the punk rock music and all that shit. It was just so memorable. It was just so. It stood the test of time. It just was way ahead. That era was just way ahead of its time. What I was going through in life, the 2000s gaming was the best decade of gaming ever in my life. Ever. A lot of people would agree with me. One of my friends agree with me. So I don't think it would be up for too much of a debate. Maybe people that are older than me, maybe like Gen X, maybe, or early millennials. I'm a mid-millennial. I was born 89, so. But and I got the PlayStation shirt right here. Dude, PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a huge PlayStation fan. It is what it is. So I have to say the 2000s, baby. The 2000s. If y'all want to know my favorite game of the 2000s, that decade, there's just so many great games. So many. I would have to say Uncharted 2, Thieves Among Us. Oh, sorry, Among Thieves. And it came out in 2009. Very late 2000s. Late 2000s on PlayStation 3. Even though PS2 is my favorite PlayStation system, PS3, you came out with a game that was extremely memorable in very, very late 2000, October 2009. Like the decade was damn near over. And I was going through some shit late 2009. I was going through shit with my job. I was going through shit with college. I was going through some shit with my friends. I met a lot of fake ass phonies and shit. I don't want to get too personal, but I remember that year. The end of that year, I was just like, yo, this is what the worst end of the, not just year, but end of the decade type shit. Like, I was going through a lot of shit. But Uncharted 2, when I got Uncharted 2 back then, when it came out, I would say the day it came out, but not the day it came out, but around the time it came out, I would say like maybe like a month later in November. Yeah, a month later in November. I would say so. But yeah, Uncharted 2, that was it's one of the best video games. So, but that's about it. 2000s hands down. But but when I mean hands down, I don't mean it blows the 90s out of the water. Like the 90s, you can't skip the 90s, man. The 90s decade was pretty good. There's stuff I need to learn more about because I explained the processing between systems from transition to 3D to HDMI. Well, transition to the 8-bit to 16-bit to the 32-bit to 64-bit. From PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, Wii transition to HDMI. I do need to still learn about how systems work and everything. I ain't gonna lie. It was a bad, poor way of explaining it, articulating it. It's just this is how I explained it. You know, this my knowledge. I'm like my knowledge is limited. Like I need to learn more and more and more how systems work, how systems function, resolution, resolutions, frame rate, and all that. There's stuff I still need to learn. It is, but you know, I'm still a better gamer than a lot of your motherfuckers. So, but but anyways, yeah, that's about it. That's it. 2000. That's my choice. I'll make another video about this, but for now, the 2000s best era, the best decade of video games to me, and a lot of people would agree. So that's it. I got Game 89. Subscribe. Follow my links at Linktree. Follow all my links. Subscribe. Follow. Like. Add. Do what you gotta do. Like or not. Eat a dick.